Hola, and welcome to Vive Nutrition Radio, the first ever Spanglish podcast where you will hear interviews with the top minds in nutrition, performance, fitness, and health in both English and Spanish. Here is your host, expert registered dietitian, Andres Ayesta, on a mission to help you take your nutrition to the next level. Hope you're ready for this. Let's dive right in.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Vive Nutrition Radio. It's the last day of 2019, and I am beyond excited for 2020. It's funny because I do have, I don't know if you knew this, but I do have a mentor. I have a coach, and I had a call with him about 3 days ago. And oh man, how pumped I am to start this new year. And this conversation was very into that. And I'll tell you a little about my guest in just a second. But before that, I wanted to make a few announcements. So obviously, this is, this episode is brought to you by Vive Nutrition. So of course it's our only one and only sponsored. But anyways, I wanted to make a couple of announcements that I did, I guess a few days ago on my Instagram. But the main one being Vive Nutrition is growing. And we are so excited because 2020 has been a year of so many great things, personally, professionally, business-wise, and, so many great things happen, and some of them including impacting many, many people this year. I left my full-time job to become a full-time online nutrition coach, and we haven't actually finished up the numbers yet, but I think we helped closer to 150 people, anywhere between 100 to 150 people this entire year. And that's just amazing. And some of these clients actually stay through the entire 2019 and they achieve amazing transformations. And we're just so excited for them. Some of them are already flying away and graduating from the program. And I am pretty sure they're going to maintain and are equipped with all the tools and strategies that they need to succeed. But Vive Nutrition is growing. We want to create more transformations in mind, body, spirit, lifestyle, and everything. So we are hiring a new dietitian assistant coach to join our team. So if you're listening to this and you're a registered dietitian and are looking to be part of an amazing team, because we do have a couple more people in the company that are crushing it right now. But if you want to become the first assistant registered dietitian nutrition coach for Vive Nutrition and work directly under me to help create more impact and coach amazing people, make sure you send me a DM on Instagram and just tell me more about you and why you should be a great candidate to be part of Vive Nutrition. On the second announcement, we're also going to be only taking 5 more people for nutrition coaching. Last year, I was starting this whole thing, and I was just so excited to help as many people as I could. But unfortunately, at this time, we are almost at capacity. And that's why I'm bringing a new dietitian nutrition coach to join the team. But to work with me, this is going to be the last set of clients I'm going to be taking on, for the next 2 to 3 months or so. So I'm taking 5 actionable or action takers to join the team. And it has to be people that are ready to make a commitment to themselves, to their health, to their bodies, to achieve an amazing transformation and see results in the most sustainable manner with a proven method that we know works and has achieved and has created amazing transformations this entire year. So if you're one of them, or you're one of these people that want to be part of that group of 5 or 6 people that join Vive Nutrition Coaching in our program, make sure you also DM me on Instagram, which is the best way to reach me, so we can get you on a phone call, a discovery call, and see if you're a good fit to join the team for 2020. Anyways, I wanted to introduce my guest today. So his name is Erik Bustillo, or Bustillo. He is, and you hear from him directly. He's a registered dietitian, very similar background as mine. He's not Venezuelan, but he has a Colombian and Cuban descent. So his parents are from Colombia and Cuba, and has a lot of background from Europe and all kinds of stuff like that. You see this guy, he looks like Aquaman, like with the beard and the long hair and the man bun. He's like, an awesome guy. And we've connected a lot of times in the past, but we never actually connected directly. So I said, what, the best way to do this is just to bring on the podcast. So he came in to tell his story, and also to kind of share some of the stuff. Like, as we're finishing up 2019 and kind of starting 2020, we talked a lot about weight loss, the weight loss industry, what motivates people around this time of the year. And he shared some really interesting things from his story, from his history, and like how he became a dietitian, and some of the stuff that he's done, and also some of the things that he does with his clients. And we had a great and interesting conversation. Erik is also, just so you can understand more about his background, he's a certified sports nutritionist through the International Society of Sports Nutrition. He talked a little bit about that. He's also a certified personal trainer through NSCA. And he just works, he's just a very busy guy. He works in clinical research. He's done clinical research studies, or he participated in some of those in the past. He works also as a CrossFit coach. He sees clients personally and online. He also works with a company called, I forget the name, but it's a company that essentially creates wellness programs or health centers in different gyms or facilities or organizations. So he's a very well-rounded guy, very busy, and he took some time today to kind of tell us a little bit more about him. So I'm not going to be talking too much more about this on here, so I'm going to let you actually hear it directly from Erik. We may be doing a Spanish version of this podcast in the near future. So without further ado, here is Erik Bustillo in our conversation today as we finish up 2019. Happy New Year to all of you guys, and hope that 2020 brings you a lot of great energies, wealth, and in every kind of form and capacity, and make it a great one. Take care, guys, and see you guys next week. All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of VV Nutrition Radio. I have the pleasure, as I mentioned on the introduction, to have my friend and colleague, Erik Bustillo. He's also a fellow Latino.
Yes,
and today we're going to be doing this in English, but maybe the next time we bring him on, we'll do the whole thing in Spanish. But Erik, I'm just going to let you tell people about you, man, because, I gave a little brief overview at the very beginning of this episode, but I feel like people, like my audience, is going to be better off if they hear it directly from you, man. So welcome to the show.
Awesome. Thank you. Hello, everybody. ¿Cómo están, mi gente? My name is Erik Bustillo. I am a registered dietitian. I was born and live in Miami, Florida. My dad's Colombian. My mom is Cuban. So that's my Hispanic background. And if we go deeper into that, I mean, you got like Europe and like the Middle East. Like, I'm from all over the place. Yeah. But born and raised in Miami. I love it down here. And I've been a registered dietitian for about 7 years now. I graduated from Florida International University down here in Miami. And I want to apologize in advance if there's any background noise. There might be like some music and stuff.
No worries.
I'm actually over here in my gym down in Miami in Coconut Grove.
We like to keep it real here, so
awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'm over here at Train 89 or CrossFit Coconut Grove. So like I said, when you're in Miami, you got to come, and anybody else.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm a registered dietitian. I'm certified in sports nutrition through the International Society of Sports Nutrition, the ISSN. If you don't know about them and you're into nutrition, sport nutrition, exercise science, it's an awesome organization. Their annual conference is always in June. So this year, or in 2020, in a few days, it's going to be in June. I forgot the exact date, but it's going to be up in Daytona. So, Everyone is always welcome. So I'm very much involved with them. I'm always helping run the ISSN annual conference. I help promote it online. And I also go to the ISSN Colombia over in Medellin, which is an awesome experience as well. Andres and Maria Clara have done a great job of really running the ISSN Colombia. And
Andres Zapata, right?
Yep, Andres Zapata.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast. Yeah, he's a great guy.
Man, him and Maria Clara, they're the ones that are in charge of ISSN Colombia. Amazing people. They're just they fit that stereotype of Colombians are so welcoming and loving.
Yeah.
That's them.
And very smart. Those two are extremely, they're smart cookies.
For sure. Very much so. Especially Maria Clara from helping run the event space. And then Andres, when it comes to anything nutrition and exercise science related, I mean, amazing. Those two are doing amazing things. So I'm involved with ISSN Colombia as well. And I'm also a certified strength coach through the NCSF, the National Council on Strength and Fitness. And I'm also a certified personal trainer through the NSCA. And then over here in our CrossFit gym, I help and, coach some classes. Like if it's a really big class, we want to make sure we have as many eyes on the floor as possible because safety and technique first.
Yeah.
And then I'll also see clients out of the office over here in the gym over at Train 89, to help them out with their nutrition. I do in-body testing as well to give them any specifics on their body composition. And nice. I kind of have my hand in
yeah, you're a busy guy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, man. I work full time. There's a company called Marathon Health. It's very much a wellness and prevention company. So essentially what we do is Marathon Health has different clients. So we'll have a client, let's just say Train 89 is a huge company. And they want to have a health and wellness aspect to it. They'll hire Marathon Health, and Marathon Health essentially comes and drops a health and wellness clinic on site.
Nice.
So you might have a doctor, a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant that will be doing more of the medical stuff as far as seeing patients. So instead of an urgent care, any of the employees can come to the health and wellness clinic and see the doctor, nurse practitioner.
It's something that kind of sometimes is missing in kind of training facilities and wellness centers. So
yeah, no, most definitely, for sure. But I mean, we have clients like New Balance, for example, the shoe company, the apparel company. Carnival Cruise Line is one of our clients as well. In my case, I work with a lot of city workers, which is up in about 40 minutes away from Miami in the city of Plantation. So our client is actually the city of Plantation. So, we have 2 nurse practitioners, a medical assistant who can draw blood, do blood pressure, give any vaccines like tetanus or flu shots, and myself, the registered dietitian, health coach, fitness trainer. So we have a 4-person team where if someone is sick, they don't have to go to the urgent care. They can come and see us, and they're not going to have to pay anything really, because it's like a benefit through their company. And then of course myself is more along the lines of the preventive side of things. Lots of folks come in for weight loss. I'll see a lot of police and fire that kind of just want to do, it's a little more tactical or sport nutrition, if you will, for that population. And then some people that just want to make sure they're doing all the right things, the ones that want to lower their cholesterol just a little bit, improve their sugar levels, just general health, wellness, and performance as well for some of the folks. And I'll coach some fitness classes there too.
Nice.
So from doing that to helping coach over at Train 89 to seeing clients over here at Train 89, I'm also finishing up my master's as well. So yeah, just, a lot of
everything. I want to rewind a little bit, and I always like to ask, why you get started on this? What was kind of that thing that sparked your interest in becoming a none of us registered dietitians, we just decided when we were kids, I want to be a registered dietitian, So what was that thing for you that kind of sparked your interest when, kind of where you were growing up, and why did you decide to take this route?
That's a really good question. I I don't know 100% why. I know that growing up, my grandma from my mom's side, so from the Cuban side, she was type 2 diabetic. And so, growing up as a little kid, and she passed away when I was, I must have been like 12 was when she passed away. So I was like in middle school, and she was like one of the best people in my life. And growing up and having someone like her as an inspiration, like to be a good person and to do right to other people, to kind of like stand up for what you believe in. She really like helped me be that way. And, growing up, just seeing her finger stick, check your glucose levels. And, she would tell me, mijito, pásame la insulina. So I have to get her the insulin from the refrigerator so she can take the insulin out, watch her inject it into her stomach. Just kind of growing up, seeing that and always reminding her. We would call her Ime. We'd say, Ime, toma agua, so drink your water, because she wouldn't drink a whole lot of water. She was having like kidney issues, and she was overweight. She didn't really take care of herself. No comas tanta azúcar. She would always eat sweets. Like she just really wouldn't take care of herself. She loved to eat. She was hands down, and I'm not trying to insult anybody, but this was the best cook ever. She was just amazing. That's just how it is. Your grandma is the best cook, the best soup, the best rice and beans, the best steak and French fries, whatever. She would make the best of everything. So she was a great cook, and she loved to eat as well. And then towards the end of her life, she started going to dialysis because her kidneys, they started to fail. And going with her and my grandfather would drive. She wouldn't really drive. Actually, she never drove. My grandfather and I would drop her off at the dialysis clinic. So going there and just kind of seeing that, I was exposed to that at an early age, not really understanding what it all was. So you take a combination of that and growing up, just kind of thinking to myself, like, man, we could have done something more, or like if only she knew a little bit more, or if she cared enough to change her habits. There's many routes or paths that this could go down. So you take that combination of that health and wellness, prevention and treatment, to me growing up also loving sports. Growing up, I played, you name it, I played it, man. From proper football, or as us Americans call it, soccer.
Proper football. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
it's the right name.
For sure. It's football. Like, you use your feet. So yeah, from playing proper football, because my dad being Colombian, you
had to.
And growing up watching El Pibe, and I still am a big Brazil fan. So from Ronaldo, Roberto Carlos to today, to playing American football, playing basketball. I played baseball when I was little, and that was probably the one that I disliked the most. Man, you name it, just playing and watching sports, that has always fascinated me. So growing up doing that, and then as I got older, I remember my brother getting into working out and taking care of what he ate. And I remember making fun of him, and I was like, that's so dumb. Like, why are you doing this or that, or whatever? Only to eventually fall into the same shoes.
Yeah.
When I was in college, my brother goes to me, he was like, man, why don't you become a registered dietitian? And I was like,
what is that?
Exactly. I was like, what the heck is a dietitian, man? So he just kind of told me a little bit about it, and I was like, yeah, that sounds cool, whatever. So he basically planted that seed. And then I took a health and fitness class when I went to Miami-Dade College first out of high school. I took a health and fitness class in Miami-Dade College, and my brother planting the seed, taking that class, and it making a pretty strong impact on me. I just inquired about dietetics, and that was it. I started taking the freaking chemistries that were horrible. Well, Chem 1 and Chem 2 were not very enjoyable. Organic chemistry for me, I thought it was great. And then, yeah, man, from there, I just did what I had to do. There was no looking back. I never doubted my choices. I found out about an internship, which I had no idea about an internship. I did what I had to do. I was very involved for several reasons. One, I liked it. It was fun going to schools and doing nutrition education for kids as being part of the Student Dietetic Association at FIU. I was also on the e-board as like the event coordinator. From doing events at FIU and knowing that it was going to look good for my internship application, that was a plus too, because obviously we want to do things that are going to look good for that. But it was something that I enjoyed and I really wanted to do, because you can tell the difference from, at least when I was in school, you could tell the difference from the people who really wanted to be there and really enjoyed the events and like the education process, and then the people who just kind of were there because they wanted to look good on paper, which there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like, if you're going to do something, like, let it come from here, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's then, good, you know, that was it. I got into FIU. I did the internship. I had a great internship experience. I rotated at 5 different places, which usually people go to like 3-ish. And then that was it, man. I started working, and fast forward to today.
That's awesome.
Here I am.
That's great, man. Well, like that's a great story. I always like to hear people's stories, because I feel like all of us, we all start with a different why, and it seems like yours was definitely like, you know, rooted in obviously your grandma. So that's powerful. Now let's get more practical and applicable here. We're starting a new year. Actually, your episode is releasing or dropping the last day of 2019. So obviously there's a lot of people that are, you know, I call January National Self-Motivation Month, because it is the month where everybody is pumped about the resolutions, which I literally posted yesterday. I hate when people say I want to make New Year's resolutions, because I just don't think those are, you know, proper goals or setting the proper goals. So I guess like the question, you know, you as a dietitian, and you're seeing a lot more, you know, clients and stuff like that. So what are you kind of seeing, or what do you usually what's like the narrative that you tell your clients as they start to find what's the next thing that they're going to do to get to their goals? And like, you know, 2020 is going to be the year for me, and like I want to like get in the best shape of my life and that kind of stuff. But of course, you see a lot of people falling off after a month. You know, they're just not sustaining it and stuff like that. So what is that conversation like with a lot of your clients that maybe like right now you're dealing with? I'm sure you're getting a lot more interest for nutrition right now, and there's a lot of people coming to you. It's like, hey, I want to know more about your services and that kind of stuff. So what does that look like now? What are you telling your clients now as they're preparing for the new year?
You know, I try to piggyback off of the new year motivation, because there's something about the new year that it triggers people to believe that they can start new. You know, I'm starting fresh, and people like that. People like a blank slate. They like the fact that, you know, I get to write my own story now. Yep. Excuse me. So as much as I'm not a fan of people being overly, I'm going to invent a word right now, resolution-y. Mm-hmm. I don't like it, because it's kind of like lots of people have been saying the same thing for so many years.
That's the part I don't like. Yeah,
for sure. And I feel you on that, because for me, it's just kind of like, man, you've been doing the same thing, and it just hasn't worked. I actually posted something on Instagram. I think it was yesterday. I put it on Twitter. I put it on LinkedIn. It said something along the lines of, do what you've always done, and you're going to get what you've always gotten. And I think that's something that's important to keep in mind, especially now with New Year's resolutions, because they tend to be the same thing. People look for a new way of doing the same thing.
That's crazy. Yeah, because I literally just posted a tweet that I read. It's literally the same, but it's something that somebody said. This quote, I don't know who it's attributed to, because I don't think nobody can find that out. But it's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Yep. Which is exactly what you're saying, right?
For sure. Yeah, 100%. So what I really try to do is I try to use that motivation that they're going into the new year with, and I try to make it as sustainable as possible. I really ask them to think about their why, because typically it's the new year, new me, and people will make fun of new year, new you, new year, new me. But they're the same ones that will be doing it. That will be doing it too. And there's nothing wrong with that thought process. Yeah. We just have to kind of like follow through with it. And mind you, this is coming from someone who I worked in a place that I'm very grateful for having worked there, but I was there for about 5.5 years or so. And once again, I apologize about the background noise.
No worries.
Barbells.
You can barely hear it.
Okay, good. I love the sound of barbells dropping in the morning.
Me too. Coffee and barbells. Baby.
That's right, man. That's all you need. I worked in a place for about 5.5 years that it was like it was basically a doctor's office, but it was very like wellness related. And I say wellness because it was kind of like a one-stop shop to do everything. I mean, I was a dietitian there. But like I guess many places, they had to find a way to make some sort of business sense out of the nutrition stuff. But how do you make it gimmicky? So I shouldn't say unfortunately, because like I said, I'm grateful for the experience that I had there. But what I learned was that one, when your focus is just on money, you're going to do things that you might not be 100% in line with, which was my case. I was trying to get paid, and my former boss, who ended up being not the owner of the clinic, but my former boss who ended up getting fired, just ended up being not so great of a person, which kind of sucked because they led us to believe that they were someone that they really weren't. And that's just disappointing. But I fell into his promises of like, making X amount of money and doing this. And, when you're trying to make money, it's kind of like, hey, that sounds really good to me. So we developed a very gimmicky cookie cutter type of program that really, it helped a lot of people lose weight. But out of I'm going to make up a number right now. Let's say out of the 800 people that, we helped or worked with or whatever it was, man, I would say maybe no more than 10 kept the weight off and kept the habits very sustainable. So the whole point of me kind of going on this spiel is that working in that place for 5.5 years, it was a great experience. It taught me a lot of things about like business and what the industry is like or can be like. And it taught me a lot about people. People want the quick fix, but the problem with the quick fix is that it sets you up for a quick failure too. So unfortunately, it was just like, you'll see people following a very cookie cutter program. That's the kind of program that people want on January 1st. And, I saw people lose 20 pounds, gain 27. I had interactions with people that really just, I need something to help me right now. And like, I get that in some cases, something very cookie cutter, it can work. And then it really falls on us as their coach to push them in the right direction. But lately from the get-go, what I've been doing is just kind of like steering people away from that quick fix mindset, from that instant gratification, really more into sustainable habits. How can I do something that's going to last until, if you're 29 now, what are you going to be doing when you're 57? I don't want you to be doing the same thing that you were doing at 29 when you were finding yourself, when you were finding the program that worked best for you, and you came to the conclusion that carbs were bad. So anytime you wanted to lose weight, you cut out carbs, and now you have a fear of carbs when you're 57 years old. And it's like, we're trying to help your metabolism and your body function optimally. And we're also trying to get over that psychological block of, I can't have rice and beans. I'm like, bro, you're Cuban. You got to have rice and beans. Come on.
You got it right. Come on.
Come on now. So it's just like, I really try to focus on getting people to change the mindset from what can I do right now to what can I do right now to stretch it into the long run, to not worry so much about getting all of my results fixed or under control, or get my results granted or just achieve them in the year 2020, but thinking about the big picture, like don't just give yourself 30 days or 3 months to make this change. You got to understand, it takes time. You got to understand that really reprogramming what goes on up here, and even what goes on up here that we don't think about, the subconscious stuff, it takes time to reprogram that. Like, you have to basically teach yourself to not brush your teeth before you leave the house. That's something that we're programmed to do. Flush the toilet when you're done. We're programmed to do those things. Have beans with your rice, right? How can I reprogram myself to start having, I don't know, kale with my beans and rice and my piece of fish? So getting people to really understand that the promises that are made to them by the weight loss industry, which I love the weight loss industry for helping people lose weight and live healthier, because at the end of the day, diets do work to a certain extent. What I hate about the weight loss industry is that oftentimes, because I'm a part of the weight loss industry too, and I don't think I'm one of the bad guys, I think I'm one of the good guys. But when you have programs that just kind of like loop people in to the detoxes, and every time they go on a trip, they got to go on a detox or a cleanse. So buy my products for $300 every time you go somewhere, every time it's a new year, every time it's a graduation, or you have a wedding anniversary, or you have a party coming up, or it's going to be summer, or, you know, I can go down this path of like what everyone wants the quick fix for. And I was a part of that, of the supplier of, okay, you got this coming up. All right, boom, let's do this. Let's do this very cookie cutter 28-day program. It's going to be a lower carb program, higher on protein, you know, take these supplements that might help you do this, this, and that. And it was just, it creates this repeat customer, repeat business that I'm like, after a certain amount of time, I was like, I don't want that repeat business.
Dude,
you know?
That's so powerful that you mentioned that, because now I've actually never talked about this, but I was also a distributor for a supplement company. So at some point I was actually selling ketones, and it's crazy not selling myself, but I was kind of complemented it with my practice. But, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because you and I have been a dietitian for a similar amount of time. I graduated in 2012.
Okay. Me too.
Yeah. So I think we're right around, like, you know, around the same time. And I think we both started, and we like, when we are like working one-on-one with clients, and whether it's private practice and gyms and stuff like that, I feel like we enter into the weight loss industry and we try to blend in with it, because we're now the authority as registered dietitians to be able to like disperse like this information. Yet sometimes, like, I feel like, you know, now that I look back, we felt consumed by it, and then we become part of it, not become part of the problem, but we become part of like the idea of like the quick fix. And dude, I've run challenges. I've done like paid, like, you know, challenges in which like you get a certain amount of money for a transformation, which is a great motivation. Like, I used to work at a CrossFit gym, and we do challenges that, you know, you get $1,000 like for the best transformation. And the one thing that I learned from all of that is exactly what you've encountered, which is it's great to produce a result, but it's not great to maintain that result, because they don't have the tools and the strategies to be able to do so, even though you teach them a lot. So I feel like, you know, you're saying that it's like we dietitians, we become part of the weight loss industry. We become part of like the problematic routes of the weight loss industry. Yet after a certain amount of time, like, I think you got to a point where, like, you know what, like, this is not working, and we're not giving our clients like the results and the impact and the long-term sustainability that they need to be able to succeed. And I honestly feel like, and I'm probably you do the same thing, like, you know, as my clients now, they like me more because I can help them achieve something that is greater than that one quick fix, even though that's what they came to see me here, you know, or what they came to me for, you know. So like, a lot of times, like, they don't see it at the beginning because it doesn't sound sexy enough, like, oh my God, like a 30-day thing, or like whatever it may be the case. But it's more about what they can accomplish in the long term, and like kind of finishing up the year in the best shape of their life, instead of going back to I need to get back into the train, I need to get back into things.
Yeah.
You know, so like you mentioning that, it actually started to make me think about that.
For sure. And, you know, it's also funny that you say that, because the where I was working before, like I said, I had great experience there. I learned so many things. The major turnoff for me, that I was still willing to do it, to help the company. And there's a certain part of me that's just very like loyal to people who give me like an opportunity. And in this case, it kind of went against my beliefs. The company started going towards multi-level marketing. So the company started turning into this network marketing, company where, you have distributors and you can make a commission, a certain percentage off of a product being sold.
Like Herbalife or like those kind of things like that. Yeah,
exactly. Although I want to say Herbalife was a little bit different, because I think Herbalife, the main way to make money there is getting people under you, which in any kind of multi-level marketing, that's the way it's going to be. You get people under your little pyramid, and then the more people you have, the more money they help you make. Because I don't know if Herbalife, if you get a commission off of like selling a powder. Like, I don't know if that's how it works. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I really don't know. But I know that the company started going in that direction. And, for me, it was just one of those things that it was very conflicting for me. I had just conflicted feelings, because as we started going more towards this network marketing approach, or direct selling, as they'll also call it has many names. Probably the most common name is a pyramid scheme, but people will say it's not a pyramid, but whatever. There was a supplement that we used to sell, and it would help people feel like manage their stress a little bit better, whether it was placebo or whether the actual supplement was working. I don't know. It did have phosphatidylserine, which I know that has been shown to kind of help with like feelings of stress and whatnot. But anyway, the supplement was priced at like, I want to say it was like $35, let's just say, which whatever, some supplements are going to cost a crap load of money, some less. But it cost us, the company, I don't know, $5 to produce it. Something along those lines, no more than 7, no less than 2. So somewhere around those lines. But then once we started going towards that network marketing, multi-level marketing route, it changes had to happen as far as the pricing went, because now for that what's the word I'm looking for? For that model to work, the multi-level marketing model, there had to be a certain price point for it to work. So now that $35 supplement, it went up to like $40 or $45. It jumped up, which wasn't a huge jump, but it was still kind of like, whoa, like if you're someone who's been buying it consistently for a couple of years and now it jumps up, like that's weird. And then within a month's time, it ended up going up to $65. You have a $30 increase of a supplement within 4 weeks time frame. And of course, me being the dietitian that was talking to the patients about it, and you know how it is, like it becomes like therapy when you're talking to an athlete or a patient or a client, whatever. So these people, they kind of like confide in you. And we would get very personal, and they would just talk with me and be like, man, like, what's up with this price? Like, what's happening with the company? And all I could say was, I'm sorry. There's nothing that I could do about it. Like, I've brought it up that the price is just not fair. What about the loyal customers that we have that have been paying $35? Next thing you know, you're paying $65. I also couldn't sit there and tell them face to face, like, hey, I'm sorry, but there has to be a 10x price margin for the network marketing model to work for us. So I'm sorry, you got to pay more. But that's exactly what it was. So just, again, seeing that, it was like, man, I'm someone who's very much like for the people. Like, how can I help somebody out as best as possible? And that was just so conflicting for me. And again, just kind of coming back to the origin of this whole story, it goes back to people looking for some kind of a quick fix, whether it's a very cookie cutter diet that's going to help a guy lose 10 pounds in 1 week because he goes from eating God knows what to basically just protein and then maybe some veggies. Or if it's someone like myself who was looking for maybe an easy way to make money, right? Whether it's weight loss or money gain, we're focused on how can I make more how can I make this much in this much time? How can I make a whole bunch in a little ass period of time? So, that's just, it's this human nature thing. And it's like, if we could just learn to be more patient, if we learn that when we do the right thing, the right things start to happen. And this isn't very sciencey, but I believe a lot in energy and attracting a certain type of energy. And I think that, again, when you do the right thing, like karma, does it exist? 100%, man. I have no idea. I don't know what exists except that we all die one day. Besides that, I can't tell you anything is for sure. But I think that by putting good things out, we get good things back.
I do agree with that.
So it's just, it's one of those things that I was so conflicted, and as grateful as I was for my time over there, I'm happy to just, be away from that and just doing my own thing, my own way, working with and for companies that I believe in, like Marathon Health over here at Train 89. With the International Society of Sports Nutrition, and doing what I can to help the ISSN grow.
Which is education and an opportunity for people to be able to create sustainable changes.
100%.
And I think that's like and that's what that's us dietitians. And like I said, like the good part of the weight loss industry is what people are just not too inclined to. It's like, okay, when they're presented with this super attractive weight loss program, and now the moment, and I tell this to people a lot of times, the moment that you type in weight loss in your Google bar, you're going to get bombarded with ads on Facebook, on Instagram, on Google, every single place. And none of us are going to be lose weight in a sustainable manner. Hire a nutrition coach to help you, no, all of them are going to be the 30-day fix, the vegan diet, because obviously we go by trends, and we go by, when I was telling to somebody the other day, one of the most searched questions overall, in Google in 2019, you know what it was? What is keto? So it's not even in nutrition. It was everything. In anything that anybody asked in Google, worldwide, was what is keto, which is obviously crazy to me, because that just tells me that people have the drive. They want a change, but they just don't know how to achieve it, or they just they're kind of wired to think that change in weight loss and everything happens literally for a specific amount of time. Like last night, there's my fiance was watching this movie, and this is a true story of a girl in New York. She was overweight. She went to a doctor, and they told her you have health conditions, you're overweight, but obviously you get your blood sugar. I don't remember exactly what they told her, but then it was what, I need to start changing my life. So she started running and running and running and running. But they get to parts of the movies where she gained 5 pounds, and she would go and run all night she would go and run. There is this psychological aspect of weight loss that people don't work the moment that they start a 30-day fix, or the moment that they start this program or challenge. Nobody tackles that, and I guess the question for you is, how do you approach the psychological aspect of that? What is the conversation that you have with somebody? And I know this is a process. This is not this is this one consult, this one session you're going to have with a client, and you're going to change your mindset completely. But I do also work with energy, mindset, and all those kind of things like that. So how does that usually work with you, and how do you approach that kind of aspect of things, the psychological aspect? Because we dietitians, we end up being therapists too, right? Yep,
for sure. That's a good question. I always try to relate to the person as best as possible, but also being as direct. So not really beating around the bush, but being careful enough not to hurt anyone's feelings or insult anyone either, because that's the last thing I want. I don't want someone coming to me for help, and then I'm just yeah, you know what? That whole keto thing is a bunch of BS. You're an idiot for doing that. No way. So trying to relate with them as best as possible. Having compassion is huge. And from a psychological standpoint, that's very important. Because if I can't be compassionate for the person who's sitting across from me, how can I really relate to them? Like, how can I possibly understand what a 28-year-old female who has 2 kids goes through? I'm not a woman. Whether I identify as one or not, I'm not a woman. Like, biologically, I'm not a woman. I could imagine what it's like to be a woman, right? Which I don't. I identify as a man, just for the record. I will never have children like come out of me, right? I'm not her. Like, I haven't gone through what she's gone in her life. So to just sit there and only think my way is the only way, that doesn't work. But knowing that I have to have compassion and I have to empathize and I have to relate to her, I also have to remember that I know the science and that I know what has been shown to work, but I also have to find what works for her. If keto is what's going to work for her, I have to understand that, hey, you know what? If this is something that she is 100% fixed on and she really wants to go on the keto journey, then I'm going to have to find a way to try and help her as best as possible.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if she's someone who had experience with keto before and it helped her with fat loss, but she's training for triathlons and she's doing CrossFit, that's when I have to kind of be like, look, you got to understand, you know, we have certain energy demands. Our physiology functions a certain way. When you're out there training and if you're doing sprints on your bike at the Rickenbacker Causeway, which is like I call it the Miami Mountain. It's a very inclined bridge.
Yeah.
If you're going to be doing sprints out there, energy demand in the body, like, keto is not going to be the best thing for you. If you're in here doing CrossFit and you're doing 21, 15, 9 power cleans and pull-ups, I mean, your energy demand is not going to be predominantly fat. It'll be some fat, but you're going to need some carb in there. Like, so trying to help her understand the science, and that affects the psychology too. So relating to people is the best thing that I think we can do as practitioners, as someone's therapist, if you will. Being compassionate about it, helping them understand their why, like why do they want to do something, but also, helping them understand why we do what we do. I don't know if it was like this for you, but growing up, my pops was always like, no te paras de la mesa hasta que termines el plato. You know what I'm saying? It's like you got to eat everything on your plate before you can get up from that table, right? If you don't eat everything on that plate, it's like a or else kind of thing. So it's like, all right, I got to eat everything on my plate. So, and I'll use that example every single time that I see someone that can relate to that, because oftentimes people won't even think about why do I have to eat everything on my plate? Like, why do I have to have dessert after I eat everything on my plate? Why do I have to have my coffee every single morning? Like, why do I why? We don't often ask ourselves those questions. We just kind of like do what we do. So if I could help someone just kind of like flip that switch and be like, dang, you know what? I never thought about the fact that, you know, we grew up in a lower income house, and I'm not saying this is my story. I'm just saying like in general. Yeah. We grew up in a lower income house and we had to eat everything that we had because, you know, mom and dad maybe couldn't make enough money to provide food. Like, it wasn't going to be for sure that we were going to have it. So we had to eat whenever we had the opportunity. You had to eat, and you had to eat everything. Maybe people won't even connect that. They'll just kind of like, all right, you know what? We made it out of the struggle. When I got into middle school, we were living much more comfortably, whatever. But from age 0 to 11, I mean, right in that age range, like our brain is like just recording, learning, processing things, becoming who we are.
And that translates into what you do later in life.
100%. So they don't even realize that until maybe I ask that question and they're like, dang, you know what? I remember on my 8th birthday, you know, mom had just gotten paid, and I remember her saying, hey, happy birthday. I'm so happy we're able to do this. Let's make sure that we eat everything because maybe tomorrow we won't have enough food, or, whatever somebody's story is. How can we help them realize that? How can we help them realize the reason for doing what they do? And then working on it from there, helping them make little changes. Because once that little spark happens, then they're going to be like, oh, damn, you know what? Yeah. Like, for sure. They're going to at least start changing, because maybe they'll continue going out to eat lunch with coworkers, but maybe they'll think like, dang, you know what? I don't have to get the Big Mac if we do end up going to McDonald's. I can get the grilled chicken sandwich, because although I love the Big Mac, I noticed that I get it every single time, and that's what I would get every single time that my family and I would go to McDonald's when I was little. So now they make that association, and you know what? Maybe I could get the grilled chicken sandwich. Maybe I could get the salad from McDonald's or whatever.
It's self-awareness.
100%.
It creating the awareness to be able to change a specific behavior. And it happens also, like, you give that example, like, people that do the chronic dieters and the chronic, fat dieters that do the thing after the thing, it's usually because it's ingrained, whether their mom did it. Like, let's say, for example, in women that do a lot of women that come to me and like, yeah, I did this and I did that and I did this. And usually when we start peeling the layers is identifying the fact that maybe mom was about like weight loss all the time, and she's also always trying something different, and that obviously kind of would translate into that. Or maybe she come from a family that were very like a lot of like weight shaming, so it was more about like, oh, like you're getting a little bit of weight, let's let's actually like change your eating habits, like we gotta like get you on a diet. And I deal with so many people like that, and that's what they are. Like the chip in the brain operates like that, like I'm gaining weight, so I'm going to go get on a diet. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. So it's an association without never asking or never wondering, why am I doing it this way? And I think a lot of times it's again, like people are just not creating self-awareness, and they don't have the right education to be able to kind of pair that up to I think that, well, the pillars of my coaching are that, like literally, well, three things, like education, accountability, and awareness. Because when you know what's going on and understand the why of it, and then you pair that up with like knowing exactly what you can do to change, and then you having somebody hold you accountable in the process to get you to that point, that's like the perfect equation to be able to succeed in any kind of program. Because again, you are understanding what the problem is,
For sure. 100%. That's it's interesting that you say that about women and women growing up a certain way, and that you work with a lot of them. I'll never forget this. I actually have two stories about this with two different families. One case was, there was a girl who, man, I don't know how old she is. I don't know, high school, let's say like 17 or something. Tall girl. She's like maybe like 6 feet tall. Mind you, I'm 6'1", and I was like, how tall are you? Like 5'11", 6 feet? And she was like, yeah, 6 feet or 5'11". I forgot which one she was, but she was tall. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Do you play sports? And she was there with her mom. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, do you play volleyball? Me just being stereotypical, tall girl, athletic, whatever. She was like, no, I play softball. I was like, man, that's cool. It's awesome that you're using your height to an advantage. Because I said to her, I was like, being tall, it's a cool thing. It's like you have an advantage with certain things, right? And she's like, yeah, I guess. She's kind of like self-conscious about her height. So I'm like, trying to make her feel good about it. I was like, listen, just use your height to your advantage. It helps in sports. It's just something cool. Like you could reach certain things that other people can't, like, just like little examples like that. And then her mom was like, yeah, it also helps. It helps you hide the weight a little bit better when you gain it. And I was like, right when she said that, man, when she said that, I looked at her, I was like, no, it's not even about that. Like I had to politely check her. Like I wish I could like hit her in the neck and be like, woman, you need to calm down right now. Like your daughter is going to be scarred because of what you're saying.
You just said, yeah.
So I told her, I told the mom, I was like, no, it's not even about the weight. I was like, the weight, like you have nothing to worry about as far as weight goes. As long as you're eating right and staying athletic, like nothing like that. The height and the weight, you have nothing to worry about there. The height is more so for you to be able to enjoy certain sports and just embrace the fact that you're tall, because there are millions of people that would want to be as tall as you are. I have friends who are males that are 5'6". Would they want to be 5'11" or 6 feet? They probably would. Like, I don't know. So I told her, I was like, just embrace that. I had to switch the subject really quick because the mom just made me do like a freaking slap in the forehead. And I wanted to be like, lady, like, come on, man, this is why there's a problem. The second story, a completely different family. This is someone who I'm working with and I'm coaching her, and she's done a really good job. Like psychologically, she's more on top of her stuff than what she was earlier in the year when we started working together. Mind you, and it's been a lot of psychology that has happened there, because from a weight standpoint, her weight throughout the year hasn't dropped a whole lot. But she's been building better habits. She's been exercising more regularly. She's been more aware of certain things to eat. I'm not too concerned with her weight, to be honest. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's always nice to see the weight come down, especially when that's something that they want. But she's come a long way up here in the mind and in her habits. So she comes and tells me a story, that she took her daughter, I think she's like 11, to the doctor, her pediatrician. And her daughter could lose a little bit of weight. She likes sweets a lot, as did I when I was 11, and I still like sweets to this day. If you put Oreos and milk in front of me, you better believe it's going down. And they go to the pediatrician. The pediatrician says, immediately he makes it about weight. Not only does he make it about weight, which, don't get me wrong, again, she could lose weight and it's okay to talk about that, but there's a certain way of going about it, as I'm sure you can be tactful with the way that you talk to people about it. You're sensitive about it. Immediately, mind you, without any blood work to have any kind of diagnosis, he says, I think she might be diabetic. What? Like, this is an 11-year-old girl and her mom, who is in her mid to upper 30s or something. I'm like, what are you saying right now, doctor? Like, you don't have anything to base that off of. You're scaring a girl who may potentially now have some kind of fear of carbs, because God knows what else he said, diabetes and sugar and don't eat rice. And it's like, God knows where that conversation went. But my patient was telling me all about these things. And then the doctor goes on to proceed and say, you know what might be good for her to do? The keto diet. And I was like, you're telling an 11-year-old that she should try the keto diet because you lost 40 pounds on it. That was his main thing. He was like, I did it. I lost 40 pounds. Like, it's been great for me. Maybe she should do that. She might be diabetic. I'm like, dude, she's 11. Like, this is how that stuff starts. Fortunately, the mom is in a good place, like up here, and like, and the talks that we've had have really like gotten through to her. And once they got to the car, she told her daughter, she was like, look, don't worry about all that stuff. Like, she basically calmed her daughter down and helped her understand, like, you don't got to go on keto. You don't have to do anything crazy. Like, you're not even diabetic. And sure enough, the blood work came back, and guess what? She's not diabetic.
Yeah.
So those are two cases where you can easily see, and mind you, this was a mom and a daughter. In one case, the mom was the bad guy, if you will. In another case, it was a mom and a daughter where the doctor was the bad guy and the mom kind of intervened and helped out. Many things happened here. I mean, as a fellow dietitian, I'm sure you can see, like, this is a cool place for us to be in, where we can help educate the youth and tell a parent, like, hey, it's not just about the weight. There's much more to it. A medical doctor, unfortunately, maybe crossing over into saying, hey, you should do keto just because it worked for you. Like, come on, man. Like, think about this. You're diagnosing someone with diabetes with no blood work. You're suggesting they do a keto diet when they're 11 years old. I don't know, disordered eating much. Like, yeah, we got to think about all that stuff. So psychology really goes into it. And I think it's very important for us to be able to intervene and really help people understand. The trick, I think, and maybe you'd agree with me on this, the trick is, how can we make it seem as sexy as possible to help these people get on track, stay motivated? Because we're not going to be like, hey, look, 30-day cleanse or whatever. Like, this is going to get you a six-pack in 30 days. You're going to feel revitalized and you're going to friggin', I don't know, whatever the stupid stuff that's out there. Like, we're not going to be saying that stuff. But there's something to be said about those things. Like, that marketing works. That whole, like, promising of something, it works. How can we do that in a non, like, fitfluencer, hungry for money way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's, I guess, like, I was actually thinking about that because, what kind of, like, now that we're thinking about ways to, like, make it, fun for people to, like, oh, I want to do that. If I was to actually come up with a Google ad right now, I don't know, I would just probably say something like 6 months to, like weight freedom or something like that, or or transform your lifestyle to achieve anything you want in your body or something like that. It has to be something that still it's gonna get them it's like a clickbait that they're gonna catchy, I want to see that, I want to be a part of that, yet it's not going to be like, and that's obviously why we kind of have, when all my clients, I have a conversation with them before we even start any program, because I want to get them to understand, and I wanted to get them to, I think if there's a message to be sent out here to people that are listening to this and they're like, okay, like they're kind of lost as far as like what they're going to be doing for the new year. And I think the biggest part of it is like, do not overthink it and keep it simple. But at the same time, I think that the most important kind of message out there is that we had to peel the layers into like why you want to do specific things. You know, why do you want to do this? And when you identify that it's like my mentor always tells me, when the why is strong enough, the how always appears. For sure. So it's obviously understanding, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to lose the 30 pounds? Like new year, new me. Like, is that really why you want to do it? Because it's a new year, it's a new chapter. No, there's something more deeper than that. Tell me why. Well, because I want to feel comfortable in my own skin. Why do you want to feel comfortable in your own skin? Well, because like it would just make me more confident around my husband. Okay, what it was that? Why is that important to you? Well, because I just want to feel loved. Okay, that's your why. Like that's like that's exactly what we need to get to a point. So now, when you remind yourself of that every single day, usually every single thing that you're gonna do, like it's going to be conducive to that. It's not because it's a 30 freaking pounds. Because the deeper root, like obviously that we had to like extrapolate. So, I invite people listening to this, like, you need to explore what that why is, and you need to peel the layers until you cannot answer any more whys anymore. That's a pretty strong kind of way to do it. But then if we would need to come up with an ad, it's probably going to be something catchy like that, like 6 months to food freedom, or 6 months to never have to diet again in your life. That sounds awesome, For sure.
It's like, how do I make it catchy without sounding too like Tony Robbins-y, I guess, which I think Tony Robbins has great stuff, but
I know, I agree, but I get what your point is. It's like, we also need to, I think it's our duty as registered dietitians to sell hard, and because of the fact that if we don't do it, if we don't sell ourselves with what we know and how we can get people results, like, in a sustainable manner, somebody else is going to be selling them the Herbalife product or the supplement or like the cleanse and that kind of stuff. And they're going to continue to spend thousands of dollars and hundreds of dollars into quick fixes that are not going to, they're going to give you instant gratification instead of giving you the long-term thing, and that's exactly, and mind you, like they get excited about the instant thing and they think it works and they see things going up again, but they will still go back to the quick fix because that's just the way they're conditioned to think weight loss works. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. That's the way it goes. It's not until they realize like, no, this is not normal, that they need to be able to kind of like, sometimes it takes a few $1,000s for them to realize, like, I need to either work with a nutrition coach, dietitian, or I need to be doing something different at this time. So
for sure,
or hopefully people listening to this, like I think is maybe the time where you need to do something different so you can expect a different result than you did last year.
100%, man. Yeah, 100%. Something that I like to tell people that I work with, and I'll put it on social media and everything, is it's three things. One is trust the process. Whatever you're getting into, trust it. Obviously, people go into these quick fixes because they trust that they're going to get that outcome and whatever. But when you're working with someone, when you're working with a coach, if you're starting a new job, whatever it is, just trust the process. Number two is be patient, because oftentimes we're not patient enough. And patience, man, that really goes a long way. And then, of course, with patience and having trust in the process, staying consistent is the third thing. So when you can stay consistent, obviously in the long run, you're going to reap the benefits of whatever it is that you're trusting and being patient with. You just got to keep on trusting it and keep on being patient with it, even if you're at a weight loss plateau. You know, even if you haven't gotten that raise at work yet, just keep working, trust the process, be patient, and stay consistent with your diligent work. Because if you stay consistent, guess what? That raise is going to come. You know, I just think that oftentimes we lack patience, and because of that, we lose consistency. And
because the results are not quick enough for the according to like standards. And they get so lured into like thinking, and it, you know, the thing is like the social pressure. It's also like a pretty big thing too. You know, I work with so many clients that they obviously the comparison syndrome. You know, they see Juanita in the gym, like she's dropping pounds like it's nobody's, and she's doing keto. So we're like, okay, so I want that, and she did it in 30 days, or she did it in 40 days. So what can I? You know. And it's just that constant comparison, that constant, I want to have that, I want to have this. And this applies just things beyond nutrition that, you know, and you do the things that person is doing that help them achieve that goal without realizing it, that maybe that wasn't for you.
Yeah.
You know? So I love those three things. And then the fourth one would be, do not ever compare yourself to, like, you know, as you start the new year, to somebody else's success, because that's their book that they're writing, not yours. You know, you write your own. So like focus on grabbing your pen instead of trying to grab somebody else's book and try to write on theirs. That's rude.
For sure. Yeah. I like that. That's true.
Yeah.
Very
so
true.
I think those are the important things, but awesome, dude. Well, we're coming to the end of our conversation. So I do have a few rapid fire questions so we can kind of like, you know, we can wrap this conversation up the right way. So I like to ask 4 simple things, and this is the first thing that comes to your head or to your mind as soon as I ask it. Cool?
Okay.
All right. First question would be favorite exercise.
Power cleans.
Oh, nice. That's one of my favorite ones too. Paired up with deadlifts.
Right.
Good. Second one would be, what is a book that you would recommend everybody to have on their shelf? And I have books here in the back. So one, you had to pick one.
Man, the 4 Agreements.
Ooh, I've heard people talk about it, but I haven't really read it yet.
Yeah, the 4 Agreements. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz, and they just kind of like, I mean, the 4 Agreements are it's kind of like things to live by, if you will. Let me just pull something up. So, and it's the 4 Agreements are: be impeccable with your word, don't take anything personally, don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And then obviously in the book, he kind of goes into detail on that.
That's good.
But I think if people read that, that's something that I would recommend.
That's a good one. 4 Agreements. We're going to put it in the show notes. Third question. What is a podcast or person that people should either follow or listen to or watch their content or something like that, whether it's education, inspiration, motivation, whatever may be the case that you feel like compelled to recommend people to check out?
You know, I'm a big fan of, he might be a little too aggressive for some people, but I like Dr. Lane Norton.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a podcast, at least not yet. I think he was working on one, but he puts out a lot of material on his YouTube, on his Instagram.
Yeah, I know he's harsh, but he's true.
Yeah, you know, although that might not be my style, and I'll be quick to tell somebody like, listen, you got to calm down or whatever, that if they're being like an idiot. Not that I would tell him that, because I like the fact that he is how he is, which might sound crazy or whatever, but we need people like that on the side of the good guys, if you will. The people who are fighting the good fight, he's one of them, and he's the one that is like, he'll call BS on people. He'll like, he's very science-based, very evidence-based. But yeah, Dr. Lane Norton, his handle is BioLane.
Yep. I've heard him. Cool. Last question would be, if you were stranded on a desert island, like nothing on an island in the middle of nowhere for the rest of your life, and you could pick one food to have for the rest of existence. It could be compounded food. It doesn't have to be one single thing. What would that be?
Man, that's tough because there are 2 that come to mind. Dang, you know what? My favorite food is pizza, but I think in that scenario, I'd probably go with rice and beans.
Okay. See, so you had two options, because as a dietitian, you're thinking the analytical dietitian brain, and then you're like the emotional, I like this food type of brain. I would
For
always
sure.
be pizza. I think that's obviously like the right one. Awesome, dude. Well, great, man. So I think those are all the questions I have for you. Thank you so much for coming on. Like, how can people find you? How can people? I know, like, you're super known for your myth busting Mondays, and a lot of your great content, and your what do you call it? I don't. Those are not called emojis.
The little bitmoji.
The bitmoji.
Yeah, with the long hair.
Yeah. Those are fun. So how can people find you, hear about you, talk to you, reach out to you?
Man, my Instagram is probably the best way, and it's just at Erik Bustillo, ErikBustillo. My Twitter handle is also the same. I'm also on LinkedIn. My email is erikthedietitian@gmail.com, ErikTheDietitian@gmail.com. I would say those are the best ways. I don't really have a website at the moment. I'll probably have one sometime soon, but it just hasn't really been something for me to work on. So Instagram. I'd say Instagram
reach out to you.
Probably the best way. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you so much for being on VV Nutrition Radio here today.
Of course.
Hopefully, we'll do one soon in Espanol, and we'll delight our Latino guests that maybe are not English speakers, and we'll go from there.
I would love that. Really quick, let's take a quick picture on here.
Oh, absolutely. Let's do that. Let me do the same thing here real quick. So
let's do it.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah,
nice.
Awesome.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for being on, and we'll talk to you a little bit later. Take care.
Awesome. That sounds good. Have a good one.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to another episode of VV Nutrition Radio. I wanted to ask you a quick favor. If you enjoyed this episode, or if you're enjoying the podcast altogether, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review so we increase our visibility and we continue to reach more people and change your lifestyle through nutrition, performance, fitness, and health. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys on the next one.